Hey guys, what's up? We are back with some more reactions after dark, and we are of course going to be watching 4 disturbing region-locked mysteries that were finally solved, obviously by Lazy Masquerade. Now I saw that this came out yesterday, uh, which it's the 19th when I'm recording this, like the night of the 19th. So this came out on the 18th, but this video is going to go up on the 20th. So a couple days, you're gonna see this afterwards. I was like, yeah, I gotta watch this, see what this is. No, even though we probably want to get around to doing more Stephanie stuff, but we did Rotten Mango last time, so that counts, right? I don't know what I'm gonna be doing on the 21st, since again this video is gonna go up on the 20th. But so from your perspective, tomorrow is the 21st, and the 21st is, of course, my birthday, but I don't know what I'm gonna do. Because obviously I should stream, but like, what would I even stream, right? Like, I haven't played games in a while, which is a problem. Like, maybe I'll play Fortnite, but do I really want to play Fortnite on my birthday? Question mark. Maybe we could just watch some stuff, but, I don't know. We don't have any hater comments stuff this time around, unless I want to go way back to that original, like one of the original hater comments on my Rotten Mango video. Was it Rotten Mango? Yeah, it was a Rotten Mango video because it was on the Burning Sun. Well, I shouldn't tell you what it was on, but it was around that era of Rotten Mango stuff that I got like a K-pop stand hater like go off on me in the comments. So I can maybe like bring that in. Like, should I do that now, just so we can have hate comments section, or what? Or reading hate comments? Like, I don't know what to call this. I was calling it like haterade section, but call it reading hate comments section or whatever. I should just go back, like screenshot that real quick, and then like we can talk about it, or I can do that next time. Like, if anybody like comments on this video and says, "Yeah, bring it up next time," then sure. I've got some nice comments, question mark, in the last video, though again I don't know if I want to put those on in a segment either, just to like respect the people who are saying them. Like, maybe they don't want to be put into a video, which is why I said last time I don't know if I should do that, because obviously we don't need to respect haters that much, so we can use them for content, but I'm not going to farm anybody who's being nice for content, is what I'm trying to say, unless they want to be put up there. Well, then we'll have like nice comment section sometimes too, if like people are okay with being put up on screen like that. But as of right now, we don't have anything for a segment, so I'm gonna just skip past that again. Just let me know if I should bring up that K-pop stand comment, because I forget what they went off though. If you thought the guy, or well, a girl last time, if you thought the girl last time went off on me, like, I think that K-pop guy went even further. Well, I don't know if it's a guy or girl, but like, I think they went off even more than the last girl. So let me know if you want to see that. But we're just gonna get straight into this one, I think, now.
We've all heard of region-locked content, the TV shows.
Oh yeah, I don't know what he was gonna use the word region locked to mean here, but this video is segmented into different regions: Vietnam, Russia, Brazil, and Taiwan. Because like, region locking when it comes to video games is like the game can only like really be played in your region. And what that means is like you need to have a console that is made or like bought from that region to play games that are region locked for that region. So like, if you buy a game from Japan that's region locked and you try to play it in your American gaming system, it will not play because it's region locked, like stuff like that. So you need to have like a console and game from the region, which is stupid that that stuff exists. I believe the Switch 1 is not region locked, but the Switch 2 is region locked, which is like, okay, we are finally moving past region locking, and then all of a sudden Nintendo's like, let's bring back region locking. Like, hello? Can we get past region locking stuff, please? So I don't know what kind of context he's going to be using here for region locking when we're talking about stories, question mark.
We've all heard of region lock content, the TV shows, movies and games that can only be accessed in certain parts of the world. But in a sense, the same thing happens with true crime. Some cases dominate headlines in their own countries, yet barely make a ripple abroad, hidden behind language barriers and local reporting. So today, we're jailbreaking 4 disturbing international stories that most outsiders have never even heard of.
Yeah, though, I don't quite know what his accent is. Isn't he like from? Is he from Australia or Europe? Like that's one of the things. Like, do you like not know the difference between like British accents and like Australian slash New Zealand accents? Question mark. Because he's either way. If he's from Europe or down under, it's like wouldn't American Story be region locked? Well, I mean, not really, because everyone won't stop talking about America, but like technically it's not his region, right? But I'm assuming he means stuff that isn't Europe or uh well, isn't like Great Britain or whatever. Or America. Since we have Vietnam, sure. Then Russia, which is part of Europe, which is why I say it's not quite Europe. Europe. I guess a certain section of Europe, or maybe he is counting Europe, I don't know. Brazil, sure, and then Taiwan.
September 13th, 2025 began like any other day in Hanoi. The sun was shining, and the streets were already buzzing with that quintessential Vietnamese hum of scooters, motorbikes, trucks, and daily life. Among the many commuters that morning was 15-year-old Wen Ha-an, a high school student on her electric motorbike. It had been a gift from her parents, one that they had saved for months to afford. The Wens were a poor family who didn't have much to spare, and so despite their best efforts, they still ended up having to borrow money to buy it. But in their minds, it was a worthwhile investment.
Okay, well, is borrowing the money going to become a problem because they're not going to be able to pay it back, and then like these loan sharks are like evil? Question mark.
Ha-an had just been accepted into her dream school, and the bike meant that she could make the journey there each day and have a high-quality education. The family had celebrated, believing that brighter days lay ahead. Unfortunately, Ha-an never made it to her second week of classes. At around 9:20 AM, while passing beneath the Van Diem Bridge, Ha-an was struck by a concrete mixer. The truck sent her and her bike skidding across the road. It was an accident, plain and simple, but what happened next was barbaric beyond belief.
I was going to say, like, this just seems like a traffic accident, so how is this like a mystery?
After the initial collision, the driver checked on Ha-an, realized that she was still alive, and then continued to drive with her under his wheels, dragging her along the asphalt. Witnesses described the scene as harrowing, saying that the young girl was almost torn in half. Locals rushed to pull her from the busy road and raced her to Buk Mai Hospital, but there was nothing that doctors could do for her. Within hours, the teenager was pronounced dead. That evening, the truck driver calmly walked into the Phu Sen police station and turned himself in. He was later identified as 51-year-old Din Van Long.
They like, why are you going to turn yourself in after? Why didn't you just like not do that? Why didn't you just wait for police and whatnot to come and save her? Because she probably could have been saved, right? If she wasn't like dragged underneath the car for all that time. Like, why do that and then turn yourself in if you weren't like trying to get away with it?
According to police reports, he confessed that after striking the girl, he had made the conscious decision to drag her under his wheels.
Why?
He did, he said, to ensure that she died. His reasoning was as cold as it was calculated. Because of Vietnamese laws, if Ha-an survived, he would have to pay for her treatment and any future medical fees.
Okay. I think we get it now. It's better for her, from his perspective, for her to die, and then him just go to jail? Question mark. Than for her to live and have to pay all her bills for however long that's gonna take. That's pretty screwed up, yeah. Like what?
If she died, however, he'd only owe her family a fixed amount in compensation. Officers thought that Long had to be joking, that he must have been under the influence of some substance, but toxicology tests revealed no alcohol or drugs in his system. His decision hadn't been made in a haze, it was made with full awareness. On Vietnamese forums, a rumour known as the underground law of the road has circulated for years.
Underground law of the road. I'm guessing it's just something like that a lot of people know, and then one of those rules is if you get into an accident and it's your fault, you just kill the person, question mark, because it's less money than having to pay indefinite medical bills. That is like such a dystopian, like that's a good word for dystopian way of thinking, right?
The idea that, for some drivers, it's cheaper to kill a crash victim than let them live. A survivor brings lifelong compensation. Hospital bills, therapy bills, public shame. A fatality, on the other hand, brings only a single compensation payment, and more often than not, a simple traffic citation instead of a more serious charge.
What? You don't get a serious charge for manslaughter? Hello? Question mark? Also, doesn't the fact that he admitted to it to the police that this was a premeditated, well, not necessarily premeditated, but like nearly premeditated notion that now he's going to get jail time too and possibly in more trouble, or does it not matter his motives? That's just how the laws work. If you get hit by a car in Vietnam and die, the person who kills you just gets off scot-free? Question mark.
Truckers have been overheard joking about this grim calculation at roadside cafes and petrol stations. It's supposedly a kind of dark folklore among them. But cases like this have shown that some aren't joking. In fact, there have been several previous crashes where victims were deliberately dragged to their deaths, and the perpetrators received nothing more than traffic-related sentences. For many, this time had to be different. This time, a new precedent had to be set. Long has since been detained on charges of premeditated murder.
Yeah?
His trial has yet to begin, though if convicted, he could face Vietnam's harshest penalty.
I mean, if you say harsh, I would assume harsh means death. Question mark. Or is it just like the harshest penalty for premeditated murder, which I would assume it would be death?
Death.
Yeah.
Her aunt was known as a devoted daughter, one who helped around the house, cared for her younger sibling, and never spent money needlessly, knowing how hard her parents toiled. She had told friends that she wanted to help her family, to make life better for them. But she never got the chance, because in the mind of the driver who hit her, her life had a value. It just wasn't one that he was willing to pay. I spent a lot of time unearthing these mysteries online, but this 11-page dossier on me was much easier to find.
Is this like a ad for, yeah, Aura? It's an Aura ad right after that, like just immediately cut from that story straight into this ad about Aura. Hold on, there's the link, aura.com/lazy. It's kind of lucky to just get that as like a hyperlink for himself. I'm guessing no one else who has a partnership with Aura has lazy in her name, so he just gets to have lazy for free.
.com/lazy. In those 2 weeks, Aura will get to work scrubbing your personal info off these data broker sites.
The TikTok star who vanished. Now this is mysteries that were finally solved, so I'm assuming this is solved. Even though that first thing seemed cut and dry. Guy runs someone over and then turns himself in. Like there was no real investigation or mystery to that. It was just we knew what happened and it was solved like immediately. It's just like whether or not how hard is this guy going to be punished is what we're trying to figure out, right? Now this is the Russia one.
Russian influencer Anastasia Khumlovskaya, or Nastya as her friends called her, undoubtedly had a difficult start in life. Born in Omsk in 1996, she was abandoned by her father and raised mostly by her mother. For years, the two were technically homeless, had to scrape to get by, and shared a bed in a hostel. When her mother moved cities for work, she sent her daughter to live with her paternal grandmother. The babushka recognized Anastasia's artistic talents early on. She bought Anastasia paints, encouraged her creativity, and, controversially, took her to get her first tattoo at just 15. From then on, Anastasia adopted the mantra, "I am the canvas," and turned her body into a portfolio. By the time she was 18 and legally allowed to get tattooed, she'd already covered herself head to toe in ink. And coming from a poor background, she was determined to make something of her life, and went to college to study computing and automotive mechanics. But more than anything...
Okay, this is a weird, 180 from, what she was really interested in.
Anastasia wanted to be seen. Unfortunately for her, she came of age right when social media made fame feel attainable, especially for someone with a distinctive aesthetic and a provocative mindset. Online, she adopted the name Grishman and began posting photos of her tattoos, her body mods, and her cosplay shoots. Gradually, she amassed a sizable fanbase, reaching more than 300,000 followers across TikTok, VK, and Instagram. But she didn't stop there. She sold art prints, tattoo appointments, and offered courses in design and computing, gradually transforming her online fame into a legitimate business. Eventually, she earned enough money to move into her own flat in Russia's cultural and artistic capital, St. Petersburg. Anastasia understood that success online required consistency. She kept her fans engaged with a steady stream of posts, every day sharing something new. And so, when that constant stream suddenly stopped in early August 2022, eyebrows began to raise. At first, her account still appeared active, but the posts were old, recycled content from months earlier. Concerned friends reached out via...
Okay, hold on. I think I need to hear that again because it sounded like he was saying that posts are still going up, but they were just re-uploads. So does someone have access to her account that's just pretending like she's still alive or around or what?
Stream suddenly stopped in early August 2022. Eyebrows began to raise. At first, her account still appeared active, but the posts...
Okay, so yeah, they're still posting, but they're just re-uploads. Again, I would think someone has taken over her TikTok, whatever she's using TikTok, and then making it seem like she's still alive as long as possible so they don't get caught. Though I feel like uploading with their phone or wherever you're uploading from is going to be able to be traced, so I don't know how smart that actually is in the grand scheme of things.
Were old, recycled content from months earlier. Concerned friends reached out via texts and private messages, but Anastasia's replies were always vague and strangely detached. "I'm feeling sick. I don't want to talk right now. I'll be back soon." It sounded like her, but not quite.
Well, I mean, it's just very vague sentences. Anybody can sound like that. Everybody on the planet can talk like that, question mark.
Taking matters into their own hands, Anastasia's loved ones called the police on August 10th and asked them to perform a welfare check. When officers arrived at her flat, they were met with a sickly smell seeping from under her door. They eventually forced their way inside and, horrifically, found Anastasia's body in the bathtub. She had been stabbed over a dozen times. First, investigators said, in the bedroom, then dragged to the bathroom and left there for a week to decompose in the heat. Police initially considered whether this had been a break-in gone wrong or the result of an encounter with a deranged fan. But in the end, they didn't have to ponder for long. Within 24 hours, they had their main suspect in custody, Anastasia's 24-year-old husband, Dmitry Chernyshov.
She had a husband? What the heck? Though more than half of the story is still ready to go. So did he really do it, or is this just a standard um, suspect the spouse as suspect number one, but actually is going to end up turning out to not be him? Because if it is him, like, why? Which obviously we're going to find out, but like, why? Why would you do this?
They found him laying low in a nearby motel. Anastasia's phone was in his possession.
Okay, well, never mind. I don't know.
According to investigators, after killing Anastasia, Dmitri used her device to impersonate her online, replying to friends' messages and posting on her socials to make it appear as if she was still alive. He even took things a step further, pushing a sale of her courses and selling a number of her possessions on marketplaces, an attempt to squeeze some money out of Anastasia's audience while she lay butchered in her own flat. It's unclear what Dmitri's endgame was, as he seemingly hadn't made any effort to move his wife's body. Instead, he had sprayed her with perfume and taped up the vents and pipes to mask the smell of decomposition. Perhaps to buy himself some extra thinking time, he had even extended the lease on her flat.
Okay. Does extending the lease in this context mean that he paid it? Because he didn't. I don't know if he said he paid it or just like got the extension to be like, yeah, increase it. But that doesn't necessarily mean that he's paying it. It could just be coming out of her bank account. But if he's paying it, then what was the motive? If he's like wasting money like that, because I don't understand why he would do this. I mean, we have like more than half the story to go to figure that out, but still.
Dmitri's defense was an unusual one. He initially claimed that Anastasia had asked him to end her existence, and that it was a mercy killing of sorts. According to prosecutors, however, his true motives were jealousy, greed, and control. You see, Dmitri was involved in the adult content world and had made most of his income starring in uploads with his ex-partners. In his mind, it was an easy way to earn a nice chunk of change. And so, when he was introduced to rising star Anastasia by his then-girlfriend Margarita, the ruble signs rolled in his eyes. Behind Margarita's back, he lavished Anastasia with gifts, bonded with her over their shared love of cars, and wormed his way into her life. After officially becoming a couple, Dmitri began acting as Anastasia's manager, and soon she began featuring in his home movies, which he uploaded to various platforms to generate income. According to friends, Anastasia became more quiet and reclusive around that time. They suspected that Dmitri was exerting control over her, that he wouldn't let her say no to any of his demands. Not to staying home and isolating herself, not to posting more hardcore uploads, not even to marriage. A few months before her death, Anastasia appeared alongside her mother on a Jerry Springer-esque talk show to discuss the adult film industry. Her mother voiced concerns that she was being coerced into making explicit content and stated that her daughter had brought dishonor to her family name. That being said, she also conceded that Dmitri was a mild-mannered and polite young man, and she didn't fear for Anastasia's safety. Midway through the broadcast, however, Dmitri's ex-girlfriend Margarita came forward and described how he had beaten, strangled, and exploited her in the same way.
Okay, so she said that, but did they end up doing anything about that? Question mark. Like, did they hear that and be like, oh wait, hold on, maybe we need to dip? And then maybe the fact that they tried to dip is why he did this? I don't know. I'm assuming the mom is like pretty upset about this too now, because it's like, oh, that was what possibly some of the last things you said to / about your daughter, her being dishonorable? Question mark. And then now she's gone. I mean, I don't want to say she's right in like being afraid, right? Because like her worries were warranted since this guy did end up, killing her allegedly. I still don't know if there's gonna be some sort of twist at the end of this, but I assume she's just gonna feel guilty rather than vindicated. Because like, why would you feel vindicated that you're right about what your daughter was doing, and that it was gonna end up possibly with her death? I don't know if she was like assuming she might get killed. I think she was just assuming that she might get hurt or something along those lines. So I just assume like she's probably like pretty miserable over this, not just because her daughter's dead, but also because of like this show, possibly even that they were on.
Dmitri, sitting just a few feet away, dismissed her claims, insisting that Anastasia could stop filming whenever she wanted. Anastasia stood by him, saying that deep down she had always wanted to make explicit content, and that Dmitri had never once struck her. She even laughed at Margarita's obvious distress while recounting her experiences, saying that she was just acting up for the cameras. But the reality is that Margarita's story was a warning which Anastasia should have heeded. After the broadcast, Dmitri stopped working altogether and became completely dependent on the income which Anastasia
I'm pausing right now. I'm gonna have to cut too because I need to turn the pin on to show you what I'm talking about. Okay, got the pin on because I was like, we have this close up of this guy's face. I was like, is this guy high right now? I don't know if that's like matters. It's just I noticed that, this eye. Let me actually just look over there. You can see what I'm getting at, right? Like his eyes, his pupils are dilated differently. Like this one is bigger than this one. It might just be the angle, but I feel like it's not the angle. This pupil's literally bigger than this one. I don't know if that indicates that he's on drugs right now or what, but it's just something I noticed that this pupil's smaller than this one. His iris or whatever.
generated. Neighbors later reported hearing frequent arguments and thuds coming from their flat. Many believe that he beat Anastasia the same way he had beaten Margarita. Whatever the truth, their relationship quickly deteriorated. Dmitri moved out, and Anastasia reportedly began spending time with a fellow TikToker named Kirill. She reputedly met with him the day her life ended. It's alleged that Dmitri heard about this new friendship she had struck up and arrived at her apartment that fateful August night in a jealous rage. It's unclear whether Anastasia let him in, or whether he used his old key, but when Dmitri entered the flat, he no doubt saw the packed boxes and suitcases scattered around. Anastasia was moving away. According to anecdotal evidence I came across online, Anastasia had long dreamed of opening a tattoo studio in South Korea, a place where Dmitri couldn't follow her. Because of his prior convictions for theft and evading military service, Russian law barred him from ever leaving the country. Prosecutors argued that Dmitri could feel his wife, aka his sole source of income, slipping away.
I forgot that they're married. It's not like they were just boyfriend and girlfriend, they were married.
And decided that if he couldn't have her and her money, then nobody could. The very first thing that Dmitri did after taking Anastasia's life? Message Kirill from her phone, saying that she never wanted to see him again. In 2024, the Frunzinski District Court found Dmitri guilty of Anastasia's slaying and sentenced him to 8 years in a remote penal colony known as Polar Wolf.
Heck, you mean 8 years? 8 years? I guess because they're trying to like write it off as like a crime of passion. I don't know if like crime of passion matters in Russia or not. If like that's something you can be like, okay, you can get less sentence because it was a crime of passion, but I don't know. I don't even know if like a crime of passion over here is get you less years or a lower penalty, but I'm guessing the penalty is not just 8 years, it's 8 years in this place. Like, and who knows how horrific it is to be here. This looks like a place where you go to die, right? Like, yeah, it's a prison, but you're probably not going to make it out of there, right?
And although conditions there are said to be nightmarish, with sub-zero temperatures and near constant darkness, many feel his punishment amounts to a slap on the wrist. I guess a lot of people are surprised to learn that Russia doesn't typically dish out heavy sentences for murder. Those are reserved.
What? Imprisonment for a term of 7 to 15, so just standard murder is as low as 7 years. Aggravated murder, I don't know if that's like worse or not. Murder of 2 or more people, murder of a pregnant woman, or murder committed with a particular cruelty. Lowest, it's 12, or it can go up to life. I mean, the life is tagged on there, but just a single kill can just be written off for 7 years, which I'm guessing is why he has 8 years. Other related offenses: involuntary manslaughter, punishable up to 5. So it could be lower, it could be nothing. Death in a traffic accident, punishable by up to 9 years imprisonment, especially with aggravated factors like intoxication of multiple victims. It's weird that like a traffic accident gets you up to more years than involuntary manslaughter. It's kind of like the same thing, but I'm guessing they're saying like a traffic accident isn't completely involuntary. I don't know. Causing death in an assault, so you're scrapping and you accidentally kill somebody. Not formally murder, the punishment is nearly as severe, with a sentence of 5 to 15. So that's like the least out of all of them, minus involuntary manslaughter. Death penalty. This is they can't have the death penalty in Russia right now. Even if they can give it, you can't execute it. Like that last sentence down there. I'm confused by that, but yeah, just like 7 years, 5 years here and there. But again, you can only hope that like 8 years in that place is basically the same thing as like a death sentence.
For more serious crimes, like criticizing the Big P himself. Later, the daytime talk show which had previously hosted Anastasia returned with a special episode which sensationalized her demise. After the broadcast, many people mocked Anastasia, questioning why such attention was being given to a, quote, worthless adult actress, while others pointed out the hypocrisy. That Anastasia's death was being trivialized because of her association with adult content, while the chinless wonder who killed her was getting off comparatively lightly. It's clear from her first appearance on the show that Anastasia wasn't a saint, but she didn't deserve to be butchered in her own bed simply because she wanted out of a toxic relationship. As one final indignation, Anastasia's own mother allowed reporters and journalists to film her daughter's funeral in exchange for a fee, a move which sparked criticism, with commenters online saying that even in death, those closest to Nastya were still profiting off her.
So I did feel kind of like weird about the mom early on, because like, yeah, they were struggling at the beginning, but didn't he say that she gave Anastasia to the grandmother to be taken care of by the grandma at some point? And that's what got her into like the whole art and tattoos and stuff to begin with, because the grandma kind of like facilitated that part of her. So you could argue that it was kind of like the mom not wanting to have to take care of her anymore, question mark, depending on how long the grandma took care of Anastasia, question mark. And then now that she's gone, she's like, oh, let me just make another buck off her funeral as well. Like as like another act of being messed up. I don't know. That's just an unfortunate, another unfortunate turn of events. Again, though, the title I feel like is so weird because it says mysteries. These aren't really mysteries. They're pretty cut and dry. Both times, like we know who did it. They turned themselves in. We know who did it. They got caught. They went to jail. So we're overusing the word mystery here. Not that it really matters, but yeah. The Garanhuns cannibals in Brazil?
Garanhuns,
Garanhuns?
is a city in the highlands of northeastern Brazil, one known for its mild mountain climate and lively festivals that draw visitors from across the region. To outsiders, it's the kind of place that feels traditional, even wholesome. But behind one unassuming doorway in this otherwise ordinary city lived a group who believed they were saving the world, one human sacrifice at a time. At the center of this case was Jorge Beltrão Negromonte da Silveira, a failed philosophy student and martial arts instructor with a chilling past. Growing up, Jorge had reportedly killed a 17-year-old named Luciano Severino da Silva but was acquitted due to a lack of evidence. He then later tried to kill his own mother after stealing 80,000 reais from her home. In 1984, he married his future accomplice, Isabel Cristina Pires da Silveira. The ceremony was a modest, yet moving one, though the mood was dampened a bit during the reception, when Jorge pulled out a knife and threatened to kill all of the guests. Surprisingly though,
What is wrong with this guy?
they lived a fairly normal and innocuous life from then on.
Like, really? Like, allegedly killed someone a long time ago, then tried to kill his mom and stole all her money, then tried to kill all the guests at the wedding. Like, oh yeah, but we're still just a happy wedded couple. Like, okay.
Well, for 2 years at least. In 1986, Jorge met and fell in love with a 16-year-old named Bruna Cristina Oliveira da Silva. Together, Jorge, Isabel, and Bruna formed a bizarre love triangle and lived as a family of sorts.
Yeah, that's kind of weird, but the wife's in on it now, somehow.
Many have instead labeled them a small cult, one built around their patriarch's delusions. Jorge had long displayed signs of mental illness and declared that he had spoken with an angel and a cherub. They had apparently instructed him to purify the world and protect the earth from sin and overpopulation.
Yeah, is this actual mental health issues, or is this just him, like, making something up, right? To try to gain power, money, whatever.
As part of this so-called purification.
Oh yeah, you know what I forgot to do? Because I was like, wow, this is taking a while. I forgot to increase the speed to 1.5. My bad. I mean, I'm pretty sure a lot of people have been like finally a video that's not sped up, but I completely forgot to speed up this video. Whoops.
He told his wives that they had to consume flesh and sacrifice 4 victims, each representing one of the natural elements: air, earth, water, and fire. Once the 4 killings were completed, he said, a portal to paradise would open, allowing the group to ascend to a higher plane of existence. Unbelievably, Isabel and Bruna believed him. Together, they created a small murder club, which they called the Cartel. Their first known victim was 17-year-old single mother Jessica Camila de Silva Pereira. When she met the cartel in 2008, she was homeless and struggling to financially support her 1-year-old daughter. Opening their arms, the cartel invited Jessica into their home under the pretense of offering her a job. But once inside, Jessica was struck over the head and rendered unconscious. The cultists dragged her into a bathroom, where they severed her jugular vein and drained her body of blood. Jessica was then skinned, dismembered, seasoned with salt and cumin, and stored in the fridge.
I was like, he just keeps going on and on. Like, what do you mean? Like, he just kept going on what they did there. Like, Jesus Christ.
The trio later admitted that they had eaten Jessica's flesh as part of their purification ritual. What makes the story even more disturbing is that Jessica's infant daughter was given some of her mother's own meat. The cartel
What do you mean? They had her daughter? And then did that? So it's like, where was the daughter in all this? Unless she brought her daughter with her to them? Because otherwise they would have to go to her house and then get the daughter and then do that?
decided to keep the child alive and raise her as their own. To the outside
Okay, so they stole the kid.
world, they appeared an odd but harmless family, one that supported themselves by selling empadas and coxinhas at the local market. In February 2012, the group cannibalized 31-year-old Gisele Helena da Silva. A few weeks later, on March 15th, they did the same to 20-year-old Alexandra da Silva Falco. Both were killed in a similar fashion to Jessica, lured into the cartel's home, struck on the head, stabbed, and then sliced up.
Okay, that's 3. Didn't they need 4 people? And it seems like they're only going after women. They're not killing any men.
Though they had already selected their 4th victim, the group thankfully didn't get to strike again. After their final murder, neighbors began to notice the group's odd behavior, the smell of decay coming from their home, the constant burning of incense, and the presence of a small child who never seemed to attend school. But the investigation really began after Gisele's family reported her missing. Witnesses said that they had last seen her entering the cartel's home, and CCTV footage showed the group using their victims' credit cards to make purchases in town. Acting on a tip, police searched their property on April 9th, 2012. Immediately, Jessica's child, who at that point was 5 years old, explained how she had seen her father butcher 2 women. Indeed, in a shallow grave behind the residence, they found human remains belonging to Gisele and Alexandra.
First off, what? Second, like, they were doing this in front of the child, and the child at 5 could somehow explain to the police what she had seen? I mean, I guess probably, right? But like, really? y'all couldn't have like not done this in front of her.
Georges, Isabel, and Bruna were arrested on the spot. The following day, an angry mob of locals set fire to their house. Under questioning, all three suspects confessed. They spoke calmly about each incident, claiming they were purging the world of bad people, and alluded to killing more victims that the police didn't know about. The police would later say that the salty pastries the group sold, and which their neighbours loved, were
Don't tell me they had human in it.
often filled with the preserved flesh of their victims.
Of course. How many stories are there in like real life where people did this? Like they committed, was it Sweeney Todd? Did they do this in Sweeney Todd? Question mark. Like killing people and then feeding them the people to other people without them knowing. I mean, it's like not a unique story in storytelling, but like, is it like at a point where you have to be worried about what you're eating all the time because you never know if it might be a person that you're eating? Question mark. Because of crazy people like this, right?
The trio were tried separately for the three slayings. In 2014, they were convicted for the killing of Jessica.
Death penalty?
Georges received a sentence of just over 21 years, while Isabel and Bruna received 19 years. In 2018, they were again found guilty of slaying Gisele and Alexandra. Georges' total sentence rose to around 71 years. Isabel's was extended to 68 years, and Bruna's to 71 years and 10 months.
Okay, a lot of years, but no death penalty. So say like how many people do they gotta kill to actually get decent sentencing here? Like what the heck? But basically your entire life in prison is fine, I guess.
In 2019, their sentences were again increased, Georges by 27 years, and his wife's by 24. Further appeals and psychiatric evaluations followed, with doctors confirming that Georges suffered from schizophrenia. He was transferred to a secure psychiatric facility to serve the rest of his time, and has since become the penitentiary's pastor and a published author, having written 4 books. He's also said to now be a vegetarian. As for Jessica's daughter, despite enduring bullying and being called a cannibal repeatedly, she's thankfully grown up to be a healthy and well-adjusted young woman. Eerily, on r/Google Earth Finds, user NoFlounder9658 shared a disturbing discovery they made after researching this case. Using Street View, they managed to find the exact address where the cannibals used to live. Nowadays it's concealed behind a metal door, but, by chance, the Google car just so happened to pass by their house in March 2012, right around the time Alexandra was killed and eaten.
Okay, so like the Google Maps hadn't updated yet, so it still had a picture of the place. Because they burned it, like the neighbors burned the place.
If you go to that location and click on that date, the image changes, and a person can be seen entering the home. That person is the head chef of the cannibal cult, Isabel, forever frozen in time on Street View, either just before or just after she served
I didn't know you could change the timing on Google Maps. I didn't know that.
her final pastry.
"72 Hours of Hell in Taiwan." Now, this is the longest story for the video. It's like, this is almost half the video, this Taiwan one.
On the evening of December 9th, 1998, at just after 5 PM, a farmer named Gu was walking home along Fudan Road in Taoyuan, Taiwan, the same route that he walked every day, when he noticed flames shooting straight up in the air from a remote stretch of brush. The wind carried not just the smell of smoke, but also of gasoline, and something far worse, something like burned meat. At first, Gu tried to shrug it off, but curiosity soon got the better of him. He crept closer and hid behind a stack of dried grass, and noticed 4 people standing around a fire, their identities obscured by masks and caps. They were talking in low voices, and kept glancing around, as if they were worried that they might be caught doing something wrong. None of them looked like locals, and this stretch of road was essentially the middle of nowhere, so what were they doing lighting a huge gasoline fire? Overcome with dread, Gu tiptoed backwards, then ran for home. Along the way, he bumped into his neighbour. He too had seen the same fire, and had the same bad feeling. Sensing that something was wrong, they went straight into Gu's home, and called the police. Officers from the nearby substation arrived 30 minutes later. By that point,
What is this? Is this B-roll? This is actual footage from what happens.
the 4 fire starters were gone. The responders put out the flames, and began examining the charred pile in front of them. It appeared to be a large sack, with something heavy inside it. They cut it open, and gazed upon its contents. Inside was the body of a young woman, burned beyond recognition.
What am I looking at? This better be the bag that she was in, and not her remains. Lazy.
Her face was gone, and her clothes were mostly incinerated. All that remained was part of a leopard print blouse, a black skirt, and leather ankle boots.
Yeah, I think it's just her clothes. Like, there's no way he's just showing, like, charred bones or something, right?
On her scorched fingers were 3 rings, 2 of them gold, 1 of them amber. Her hands had been tied across her chest, and clutched in her arms was the body of a burned black dog. A few of the officers knew exactly what that symbolized. In rural Taiwanese folklore, a black dog's blood is said to ward off ghosts, to blind a spirit so it can't come back for revenge.
But we're just out here hurting or killing black dogs to like deal with supernatural things. That's kind of messed up.
The police set about trying to...
And by kind of messed up, I mean that is messed up. Especially if it's just like part of your culture to do that. Though it is... We're not supposed to... like get upset about people's cultural stuff, but I mean, I'm assuming that's not like really a cultural thing. It's just like it's just folklore to do that. So I'm assuming people aren't just going around, killing black dogs to like ward off ghosts every day or something, right?
to identify the Jane Doe, but the forensic doctor could only narrow down the search so much. They worked out that her COD was mechanical asphyxiation, that she had probably been dead less than 24, maybe 48 hours, that she was around 165 centimeters tall, around 25 to 30 years of age, was slim, had perfect teeth, and had a 5 centimeter scar on her left wrist. Detectives rummaged through missing persons reports, but found nobody who matched that description. They published the case in newspapers and on TV, and still no one came forward. With no CCTV in the area, and 2 eyewitnesses who couldn't see faces, the case inevitably stalled. And so, the woman was buried in Shuanglian Cemetery, under the name Unidentified Female, Fudan Road, Section 4. And for 20 years, that's how she was known. Then, in May 2019, a phone rang at the Miaoli police station. "I can't take it anymore," said the terrified voice on the other end of the line. "She's been haunting me for over half a year. I want to tell you the truth about a murder from decades ago." The caller identified himself as Yi Hao. He said that the unidentified female was a half-Taiwanese, half-Japanese girl named Xiao Wen. She was 17 years old and used to work at a betel nut store on Zhongfen Road. The operator asked how he knew that. Yi Hao said that he was friends with the store owners, a couple known as Little Pan and An Chi, as well as their close associates, Chang Bi and Baby. In December 1998, he had found the 4 of them holding Xiao Wen against her will. He hadn't dared report it back then. He was only 15 and feared what the others might do to him. What made him call now, he said, was that half a year earlier, he had reconnected with one of the group, namely, Baby. While drinking together, he asked her whatever happened to that girl that they had been holding captive. Baby calmly responded, "Oh, she was burned." After that, Yi Hao kept having nightmares, seeing Xiao Wen
Like, what do you mean? You just like casually be like, oh yeah, she was burned.
at night, burned and on top of him, pressing him down, asking why he still hadn't reported what he knew. The dog blood, he said, clearly hadn't worked. Yi Hao's tip was promising.
Oh, is... Cause I wasn't really thinking it like that. I was thinking, okay, like with the dog blood to like stop a ghost that's hanging around, is like having the dog on top of a corpse like that. It's like you're committing murder and then extra murder by killing the dog so that the dog's blood stops the ghost of the person you just killed from haunting you or coming after you. So like you're trying to get away with murder on both ends here. Like you're trying to kill her and get away with it, but you're also trying to kill them and get away with it supernaturally too. Because if you're believing in that stuff, you could think, oh, the ghost can come and haunt you. Maybe, I don't know if ghosts can kill you in Taiwanese folklore or just culturally, if they believe that or not. So now I'm getting like, I thought they were using this to protect them from some other ghosts, not using the dog to protect them from her.
But there was a problem. The forensic doctor had been adamant that the victim was between 25 and 30 years of age. Back in 1998, Xiao Wen was 17. Could the doctor really have made such a big mistake? Well, detectives decided to pursue this new lead, and, to their amusement, they learned that on December 25th, 1998, a man had actually reported his 17-year-old Taiwanese-Japanese daughter missing. Her name was Lin Mo Wen, but, as they soon discovered, everyone called her Xiao Wen. After emigrating from Japan, she had struggled to adapt to Taiwanese life. Her Mandarin skills weren't up to par, which of course led to poor grades. Lonely and unhappy, she drifted into the nightlife scene, frequenting clubs and drinking with older men. Her father routinely scolded her for her behavior and admitted to striking her on occasion. This created a rift between them, and in 1996, Xiao Wen dropped out of school and moved north to Pingzhen. Despite running away from home though, she stayed in weekly contact with her father. He reported her missing in 1998 after 2 weeks of radio silence. The name, the age, the dual nationality, the district, the time frame, all the details matched Yi Hao's tip. It began to appear as if this case could have been resolved decades earlier had detectives not discounted Xiao Wen as a possible match due to her age. Feeling embarrassed, detectives decided to compare the DNA samples collected at the scene years prior against Xiao Wen's father. But at some point, those sample boxes had been thrown out.
I was like, what do you... how could this go wrong? I feel like this was, see, we see a lot of Korean stuff back in the day, right, with Rotten Mango, where not situations like this, but just like situations where like the cops goof and they don't want to admit to goofing up or seeming incompetent, even though they are incompetent. So I feel like they wouldn't like admit to being like, okay, yeah, we goofed, but it seems like they're actually trying. Well, in this Taiwanese case, right, this Taiwan, right, Taiwanese case, they're like, okay, we goofed, we gotta see if this is right or not.
No matter, they thought. They'd simply unearth the burned woman's grave and take a sample of her DNA directly. But unbelievably, no one had kept a note of where she was buried. The cemetery had been redeveloped in the intervening years, and the two men who had handled the burial had since passed away. It looked like they were stuck again. Without hard evidence, Yihao's tip was nothing more than a convincing story. But then, they got lucky. The forensics office found out that someone had mixed up the 1998 and 1999 sample boxes. That meant the victim's DNA hadn't been thrown out after all. They compared it, and got an exact match. The burned woman was indeed 17-year-old Xiao Wen. With the victim officially identified, and
You could argue that was kind of like divine intervention with that one. The box that got thrown out was from someone else.
living witness on record, police moved to arrest the 4 suspects Yihao had named. 3 of them were still in Taiwan: Anqi, Baby, and their supposed ringleader, Little Pan. However, the 4th suspect, Chang Bi, had long since fled overseas. Officers debated whether they should pick up the 3 who were still on the island. Doing so would no doubt tip off Chang Bi, and he had likely never returned to face justice. They held fire for a year, but ultimately decided that catching 3 out of 4 perpetrators wasn't so bad. Little Pan, Anqi, and Baby were all living in completely different areas by that point, leading quiet, unassuming family lives. And thus, 3 separate police units picked them up simultaneously and drove them straight to Fudan Road, Section 4. When they got there, the lead officer asked them, "Do you know who was burned here 2 decades ago?"
I was gonna say, like, how are they gonna do this? Because if they got them all at the same time, wouldn't that mean, like, maybe they could go get the 4th guy if, like, those 3 didn't have any time to call the 4th guy and be like, hey, we got caught, right? Because if they do it all at the same time, there's no time for that unless they use their phone call to tell them that something's up. But I feel like maybe they can still go get the 4th guy too.
The officer expected them to say no, or throw each other under the bus. But instead, all 3 dropped to their knees and began apologizing to Xiao Wen. From there, the full story came out.
Okay.
After running away from home at age 15, Xiao Wen drifted into the beetle nut shop, run by Little Pan, his girlfriend Anqi, their friend Chang Bi, and a younger girl nicknamed Wawa, or Baby. Pan was the de facto leader, and he quickly took a liking to the new runaway. She was cheerful, energetic, and eager to please. Before long, he offered her a job as a beetle nut beauty, a young, scantily clad woman, or in this case, way too young girl, who attracts customers by sitting in the window or standing on the street. She was an immediate hit with the store's sleazy clientele, who referred to her as the Cherry Blossom Girl, a reference to her beauty and heritage. The place wasn't much, but Xiao Wen finally felt like she had found a place to belong. Over time, she grew especially close to the boss lady, Anqi. At first, they were inseparable, laughing together, sharing food, gossiping. It was the closest thing that she had had to family in months.
I was wondering what they actually like referred to her as. Because this is the Cherry Blossom Girl. Do you mean like Sakura Sojo or something like that? Because that's like literally Cherry Blossom Girl. Is that what they were calling her? Or was it abbreviated to something else? Or what? Because I'm assuming that's what they were calling her, Sakura Sojo. I don't know if you would put Shoujo Sakura first, like girl Cherry Blossom. You'd go Sakura Sojo.
But the closeness didn't last. Envy, petty conflicts, and shifting alliances simmered beneath the surface, and Anqi began to suspect that Xiao Wen had feelings for Chang Bi. Problem was,
Yeah, I was assuming there's going to be some sort of like weird love nonsense going on, love drama here with this new girl.
so did Baby. Word spread, jealousy festered, and Baby made it her mission to, quote, teach that snake a lesson. With the help of a few friends, she pinned Xiao Wen down, beat her, and shaved her head. Humiliated and distressed, Xiao Wen called up her father, and through floods of tears, said that she needed money for a wig. But instead of offering sympathy, her father reprimanded her for getting involved with such lowlives, and hung up. He would have acted more appropriately, had he known it would be the last time he would ever speak with his daughter.
Yeah, again, probably the guilt haunting him this entire time. It sounds like the guilt has been haunting these people, all these people, so now even the father is having to feel that too, because he did seem like he's kind of like too much of a hard, excuse the French, but hard ass, right? He's like being like way too mean to her, which probably like pushed her away to begin with, on top of like having to move here and live in this place that she doesn't really fit in at, and then him constantly being kind of mean and that even like in her final moments of talking to him, like he was still being mean to her. Not that he knew that was going to happen, but the whole thing is like, like gotta be careful what you say to people because you never know when it's the last time you're going to talk to them, right? So
On December 6th, 1998, Little Pan realized that money was coming up short. Someone, he said, was skimming from the register. Baby immediately accused Xiao Wen of stealing from the business, saying that she had used the money to buy expensive jewelry and wigs. And in Little Pan's volatile mind, that checked out. In a violent rage, he dragged the 17-year-old into a room above the store, tied her up, and locked her inside. And so began Xiao Wen's 72 hours of hell. From then on, Pan declared that Xiao Wen was the store's punching bag. Whenever anyone felt in a bad mood, he said, they were welcome to go upstairs and beat her. And all four of them did. Repeatedly, with fists and sticks. The atmosphere only became more sadistic as the night wore on, and on December 7th, things continued to spiral. The group denied Xiao Wen food and water, sliced her face and thighs with a machete, and beat her with a baseball bat, all while trying to force a confession out of her about the missing cash. But her condition had deteriorated rapidly overnight, and she could barely speak in her own defense. That's when Little Pan started to panic. If you couldn't tell from his reaction to the skimmed money, he was a regular amphetamines user, and feared that Xiao Wen would tell the police about his drug addiction. As an active duty soldier, partway through his mandatory national service, Little Pan knew that if he was reported, he'd be tried in a military court and face an extremely severe punishment. On December 8th, his paranoia peaked, and he decided that Xiao Wen had to be silenced.
is he still going to be punished because of that, or do we have like statute of limitations on that of what happened to her? Because it's been 20 years, right, that they've finally been caught. Like, can you try someone in military court, despite not being in the military anymore? Question mark. For something they did do while they were in the military?
Permanently. The other three agreed to go along with Pan's plan. After all, they were already in deep. There was just one problem. While they deliberated about how to finish her off, the aforementioned Yi Hao arrived unannounced and came face to face with the four soon-to-be killers and their tied-up soon-to-be victim. When the group noticed Yi Hao, they surrounded him and ordered him to hurt Xiao Wen, technically making him an accomplice. He fled the scene the first chance he got and didn't speak about what he had seen for 21 long years. After he left, the group decided to act before any other witnesses turned up. And so, in the early hours of December 9th, Anqi took thin sheets of joss paper, wetted them, and laid them over Xiao Wen's face, blocking her airflow. When she was on the verge of losing consciousness, Changbi held her legs while Pan wrapped a towel around her neck. He inserted a stick and twisted until her cervical spine snapped. All the while, a very nervous baby stood by the door, acting as lookout. She now knew what would happen if the others ever found out the truth. That she was the one skimming money from the register, not Xiao Wen. After taking Xiao Wen's life, the perpetrators brought in a mystic who performed folk rites, a woman known only as Hua. Rather than call the police, she advised them to kill a black dog and sprinkle its blood over the corpse, not just to blind the victim's spirit so that she couldn't find and haunt them, but so that the animal would carry their sin into the afterlife.
So this lady, I don't know what they refer to her as, spiritualist, or just refer to her as, actually gave advice on murder? Like, what do you mean you can just call up some sort of spiritual person and they'll be like, oh yeah, you killed somebody? Oh, well, put black dog blood on the corpse so it doesn't haunt you from the afterlife, so they can't find you, and yada yada yada. Like, what? You're just out here just like letting people get away with murder? Hello?
Leaving them free of guilt, both in this world and the next. They followed the mystic's advice. After driving Xiao Wen out to Fudan Road and setting the fire, the group immediately dissolved the betel nut stand, scattered in different directions, and cut all contact with one another. 21 years later, 3 of those perpetrators were finally in court, in a trial which began just 45 days before the statute of limitations would have expired. Despite their past confessions and
Statute of limitations still in effect.
expressions of remorse, in front of the judge, they all pled not guilty and tried to pass the blame, each saying they only watched as the others killed Xiao Wen. At first, the judge gave the 2 main offenders, Little Pan and Anqi, life sentences.
Okay.
Who was just a juvenile at the time of the incident, got 14 years and 10 months. However, on appeal, the court said that the offenders had all been young, impulsive, and still reformable at the time of the crime, and cut the main sentences to 14 years and 6 months.
For everyone?
Babies was also reduced to 14 years and 2 months. Xiao Wen's father got nothing. His civil claim was rejected, and his daughter's remains, buried under the name Unidentified Female, were never located for a proper funeral. He told the media that he regretted not being a better father. If he had been, he said, Xiao Wen would still be alive. He passed away in 2023, still angry and full of guilt. It's crazy to think that this case could have been resolved much earlier, had the forensics team not been so adamant about the victim's age. It's even crazier that it was finally resolved because a witness waited 21 years to pick up the phone, all because he said he was being haunted by a ghost and couldn't sleep anymore. and it's just infuriating that the perpetrators are serving such short sentences, with one of them getting away scot-free. Xiaowen may finally have her name back, but she still hasn't been given the justice that she deserves.
Yeah, I mean, the story's pretty messed up, right? And like at the end there, just insult to injury on, like, again, like I was saying, the dad's probably been living with the guilt this entire time, and then, but even that's like, oh, he's dead now, so guilt his entire life, then still gets screwed over in the end, because they're getting away with like 14 years because they're being treated, I don't know, even nicely, but being let off the hook, kind of, right, for doing this. So like no justice in the end, and then the dad dies, and it's like, oof. So she didn't get any justice. He didn't get any justice for his daughter. I mean, outside of like the 14 years, one of the guys is out, out and about because they're not gonna go across the sea or whatever to go get him, across the ocean to go get him. It's just like it's a screwed up situation altogether, all over the place. I'm pretty sure that's the end, but I'm just letting it roll for a bit longer.
Hey guys.
Yeah, it's his outro scene. Yeah, that was that. Of course, always a lot of messed up stuff going on here. I mean, not always. His videos aren't always sad stuff. So we have the Vietnam one, where that one is just ludicrous that the rules are in a way that truckers are actually just like, you know what, it's better just to kill somebody than to hurt them, because I don't want to pay money for possibly the rest of my life, so just screw it, let me just kill them. Like, that is such a dystopian, like crazy dystopian notion there. This Russian one, again, that's just this idiot killing this girl. I forgot, what did he get? Not a big punishment, right? Because murder doesn't, in Russia, doesn't facilitate like a big punishment, so he got like 8 years. But again, I'm hoping that this place is just a death sentence, because I mean, look at it. Right, we can only hope that. They all basically got life in prison. I think, right? So it doesn't really. They're already old and they just spend the rest of their lives in jail, but they still got away with too many kills. They said they killed more people than what they got blamed for, but I don't know about that. The fact that they fed the daughter some of her mom is just not okay. I mean, none of this is okay, but that's just, what is wrong with you people, right? And of course, this one is just them getting away with 14 years is also pretty brutal as well. But yeah, that is that video for today. Again, I don't know what I'm going to be doing tomorrow. I feel like I should be doing more stuff today on the 20th, but there's getting an inspection coming today. I mean, I'm saying today, but because this video is going up on the 20th, but technically it's not the 20th yet, but inspection coming today, and then someone else is coming today, so I really can't do anything. I don't know when I'll find the time. Like, maybe I'll have time later in the afternoon to do something extra. Maybe I can even like stream at nighttime today, and then that'll carry over into the 21st to my birthday. So maybe I'll be streaming to the birthday. That seems like something I could do. I can get behind doing. I'll have to think about it though. Okay, guys, thanks for watching. Remember to buy my stickers, or think about becoming a member, subscribe against subscribers, we're here on watch time and subscribers, and we have thrown out as well. And shout out to the members, EmmyStarr, RaleyDrew, and alexgkiller 880. Okay, guys, thanks for watching. Tune to the next episode. Like, subscribe, comment. You know what to do.